Hi guys, as you know, I'm Kindson the Genius, and today I'm going to be covering Windows Server Administration step by step from beginning to the end. Now, if you look at my screen, let me just show you. You have this Windows here, operating system Windows Server 2019. But if you go down, you can see it belongs to the domain ktg.local. If I move this way, you can see another Windows 10 Enterprise, also in the same domain as you can see. Now here is where it gets interesting. If I move this way, you can see the Active Directory Management Console. That is very well known Active Directory Management Console. You can actually get it from here. The reason is because this is my domain controller. Everything I'm doing here is done at home. I'm setting it up at home, and we are going to be doing it step by step with no step skipped. We have this ktg.local domain, and you can see the users here. You can see my name right here, and also if you go to computers, you can see two computers right here. And you have this computer, you have this one. Now this is another one. This is another domain controller in a different forest. I'm going to be trying to explain this as much as possible in this tutorial. Now the step-by-step for this, I've also presented it right here. I'm going to show you. If you go to Safari, the easiest way to get to my website where you have the steps is to simply go to Google and type Kindson the Genius. So if you type Kindson the Genius, it takes you to my website. So in my website, you can now find this step-by-step tutorial. This is my website. You can find other things as well in my website. Can browse around in my website. You can also find some books, although they are not free, but you can also get them. They are written by me, as you know. So you have this step-by-step how to set up Active Directory domain with VirtualBox and join computers. Everything is gonna be for free. And if you go to the part 1, now if you want to set up Active Directory, now sometimes you might be told that you need to go to a network environment, but I want to tell you at this point that is not necessary. You don't need to go to any network environment. You need to set it up right at home for free using VirtualBox. I'm going to show you how to download all the Windows you need and actually do it by yourself. This procedure here is what I'm going to be following at this point. So please, if you are joining me for the first time, hit on the subscribe button below, subscribe to my channel. If you have any challenges whatsoever following this lesson, let me know in the comment box below, and also like and share my videos because that kind of motivates me to continue doing it. This is a complete Windows Server Administration 2019 step-by-step tutorial by me, and I'd like you to stay with me and also let me know if you have any challenges whatsoever following my lesson. Now, so for us to get started now, I'd like us to start right from the scratch. So I'm going to go to my VirtualBox. So let me go to my VirtualBox and then I'm going to delete everything. First, I would like to move this to the procedure to my second screen so that I'll be following the procedure from there. So I'm moving it to my second screen. For you, you can also open it in a different screen or leave this video open in a screen. You can also follow the video along. So I'm going to go to VirtualBox and I'm going to delete everything so that we start right from the scratch. So I'm going to go to VirtualBox. Here's VirtualBox. I'm going to right click and I'm going to remove everything. So now before you can remove, you need to power off. So I'm going to power off, and then I'm going to remove. So I'm going to remove it right from this scratch. All right, so I'm going to delete. First, I'm going to power off this one as well. Power off, and also delete everything. The reason I'm deleting everything is that so that when you start with me, you are going to start exactly where I'm starting, right from when you install VirtualBox, and that is what we are going to be doing now. So let's delete this one as well. So I'm going to remove this, remove and delete all files, and I'm going to show you how to set up by yourself. So power off, yes, power off as well as remove and delete all files as well. So I'm going to do the same. And finally, Windows 10, I'm going to power it off and delete everything as well, and then delete. So when you install VirtualBox for the first time, this is what you will see. So when you set up VirtualBox, this is what you'll see. Let me follow the instructions because I always like doing step by step. Step 1 says install VirtualBox, download and install VirtualBox, and create virtual machine. So to download VirtualBox, I'd like to go to, let's say I go to Google. So if you go to Google, let me just give me 1 second. Let me just come here. All right, so this procedure is here. So let me just quickly move it across. So you have this download VirtualBox. From here, you can get to the link where you can download VirtualBox and also download Windows Server 2019. That is what I'm using, 64-bit, the evaluation edition. So let me just go to the website so that you can see it right here. In the case of VirtualBox, this is where you download VirtualBox for Windows or for Mac or for Linux, depending on the operating system you use. Now, to download Windows Server 2019, you can get it right from here. The evaluation edition, you can use it for 90 days. 90 days is long enough. So you can see Windows Server 2019, and we have Windows 10 here also for 90 days. Now, you can use it for 90 days for free with all the features you need. So you download the ISO. When you get to Windows 10 Enterprise, download the ISO, all right? So I'm going to move out this away from here as well. So for me, I already downloaded everything. So if I go to my Finder, my local directory, I'm going to show you I downloaded everything into this folder right here. So you can see the 3 of them. We have Windows Server ISO, Windows 10 ISO. Now the VHD is a different thing. We are not using VHD. VHD stands for virtual hard disk. You can also use it, either you use virtual hard disk or use ISO. So in this case, we are using the ISO so that we can actually install Windows right from the scratch. At some point, I'm going to be showing you how to set up the network to make your host operating system and the guest operating system actually communicate and be on the same network. So I'm going to be telling you that in a short time within this video. So please stay with me till the end of this video. And one more thing I would like to mention is that, all right, so this is where we are now, new VirtualBox. There is nothing there, it's just a clean slate. So I hope you are following. If not, leave me a comment. The first thing you want to do, according to the steps, as I mentioned, please leave the step open. Open VirtualBox and click on the new button. So this is the new button right here. Give the computer a name. So this is our server. So I'm going to call it Windows Server. And choose the type is Microsoft Windows, and the version should be Windows 2019-64. This is not Windows 10. This is the Windows we are going to be using for our server. Okay. So I'm going to click on continue. And I would like to leave everything recommended. Now you need a system that is relatively fast, at least memory of 8 gig and above. 8 gig or 16 gig is okay. If you have something lower, it might be a bit difficult or slow for you. So I recommend 8 gig. So 8 or 16. So leave the memory size, the defaults. So here, leave it at create virtual hard disk now. You can create a virtual hard disk from VirtualBox just like this. Allow VirtualBox disk image and go next. Dynamically allocated, that is fine. And I'm allocating 50 gig to this machine I'm building right now. I'm going to go create, and it creates it. All right. So now it's created the virtual machine. Now this is virtual machine with no operating system. So we are going to now install Windows in this machine we created right now. Remember, this is virtual machine, more like the core hardware with no software. So let's install the software from the ISO. ISO is like a disk. Let's insert the disk and install the software. So to do that, simply click on start and say normal start, or you can just click on start from here. Once you click on start, it now will ask you to specify the ISO or the location where you want to install from. At this point, I need to select the ISO I downloaded. So I'm going to go to add, although I added it here, but normally I go to add, you select the location, and I'm going to click on Windows Server 2019 ISO. I'm going to open, and I'm going to click on choose, and I'm going to click on start. All right, so from the procedure, it says, okay, I'm following the instruction right here. That is fine. Okay. So let's wait for a couple of seconds and it's going to start up. Okay. So now the setup starts running right now. So I'm going to go next, install now. Now you can actually go to machine and the view and say scaled mode. So when you say scaled mode, it's allow you to maybe increase a little bit. We are going to correct this once and for all after now. So in this page, let me just increase a little bit. In this page, you have 4 items. Have the data center and we have the standard. Sorry, we have the data center, we have the standard. For the data center, we have desktop experience and also non-desktop experience. Okay, so choose the Windows Server standard desktop experience. Without desktop experience, you only have command line, PowerShell, and stuff. So you have to be writing the commands. That is not what you want. So let me go to desktop experience. That is the second one. I'm going to go next. All right, so I'm going to accept the license and go next. So choose custom install and choose next. All right. So the installation starts right now at 0%. So I think I'm going to wait a little bit. When it completes the installation, then we continue. So the installation completes and the system needs to restart. So you can actually wait for it or you can just click on restart now. So the setup, so at this point you don't need to press any key. So don't allow it to boot from the CD. So it's starting Windows Server at this point. My system is quite fast. For you, you might wait for a few minutes or thereabout. So let's see what we have. So at this point, after I restart a couple of times, you need to specify the admin password. So I'm going to choose a password. So require a complex password. So let me see if I can choose something good. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let me. Okay, so I choose something complex. So this account now is created. Okay, so the system starts up. So the next thing you want to do is to go to input. Now the keyboard for Windows and Mac is different. So for you, the Control-Alt-Delete might not actually work. Actually, it will not work between the host and the guest. So you simply go to input, go to keyboard and hit and click on Send Control-Alt-Delete. And I'm going to use the password I entered. And let's log into Windows. The next thing I'd like us to do at this point is let's set the display to be able to be full screen. Okay. To be able to get the display to be full screen, you need something called VirtualBox Guest Additions ISO or something like that. So if so just click on yes, whatever. So now we have Windows Server setup at this point, but there is a number of things we need to do. Now it's not full screen, so simply go to devices and go to optical drives and go to this. Give me 1 second. Or devices, can click on insert guest additions CD image. That's what you're going to click. So once you click on it, this is just not acceptable by me. Let's go back to devices, optical drives, this. All right, so this comes out, this pop-up, and click on it and simply run this. Sorry if it's too small because we are just trying to correct this problem that just came up. So there is something you need to do. So after installing guest addition CD, the system is going to restart and we'll be able to have a full screen from the guest operating system to the host. So let's reboot the system, and then this problem will be solved. All right, so also go to input and go to keyboard, Control Alt Delete. All right, so go back to go to view and choose scaled mode. After you choose scaled mode, and just go to full screen like this. So once it gets to full screen, it's going to resize to fill the whole screen. I think it's going to do that. Let's see. Yeah, so it resizes to fill the whole screen, but it's still not looking so good. So what I'm going to do now is to minimize this and go to desktop, right click and click on display settings. Once you click on display settings, you go to change the size and go to 225. So for me 225 is okay, so I'm going to close. Our server is okay at this point. So we've built our server. The next thing I would like us to do is to configure Active Directory services. So we need to make this server to be an Active Directory, to install the Active Directory services. Of course, it's a role in this server. So what you're going to do, simply go to Add Roles and Features right here. I'm looking at the procedure as well. And go to next. Also click on next. Let me make sure I'm not skipping anything. So here, choose Active Directory services and say Add Feature. So once you go to Add Feature, go to next, go to next again, and go to next, and say Install. Okay. So this is going to make this system to have the Active Directory services role. And the next thing we are going to do after this completes is to now promote this server to a domain controller. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. Let me just take a little cup of water, and then I'm going to be back. So at this point, the installation succeeded. So you can see configuration required, installation succeeded. The next thing you want to do is to click on promote this server to a domain controller. However, if you close this window before you do that, no problem. You simply go to the upper right corner and click on this and just choose promote the server to a domain controller. So once you do that, I'd like to follow the instructions so I don't miss anything. So it tells you add to existing domain, or add a new domain to existing forest, and so on. We are going to create a new forest. A forest is a collection of domains. So let's create a new forest. So a domain belongs to a forest, and simply once you create a domain, it simply becomes one domain in one forest, like that. So I want to call this domain KTG. Now domain should have an extension like .local, or some extension. So I'm going to say KTG.local. Okay, it can be ktg.com, it can be ktg.org. So, but normally, if you're working on a local test environment, it's better to have it as .local. So I'm leaving it as .local, and I'm going next. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, fine. So it comes to the next part. Okay, this is fine. So you're gonna choose a password. I'm gonna choose a password. And I'm going to go next. Now there might be some some error messages, some notifications that comes up. So we have this verify net BIOS assigned name. So wait for a couple of seconds. It's going to populate this net BIOS assigned name on its own. So it's KTG, like the first part of the domain name you specified. That is what it will be. So I'm going next. And at this point, we are promoting this computer to a domain controller, and simply go next. Let me just make sure I'm following the instructions correctly. I'm going next as well. And finally, I'm going next, and this computer becomes a domain controller. We've created our domain and we have a domain controller right there. So let's give it a couple of seconds and it's going to populate. Okay, all prerequisites checks passed successfully. I'm going to click on install. Right. So let's wait for a couple of seconds as well. So I hope you are following. Please stay with me. Let's do this together. And if you have challenges, feel free to let me know. Follow the instruction on the website, on the web page right here. That is exactly what I'm following right now. Actually, we've completed part 1, but let's wait for a couple of seconds. Let the installation complete so that you can see the difference when you set up the domain controller and when you've not set it up. You'll see the difference I'm going to show you at this point. All right, so you can see it says you're about to be signed out because now you need to log in using your domain credentials. So I'm going to say close. So you're going to sign me out and I need to now sign in using my domain credentials. Of course, it's going to restart the system as well. So I'm moving now to, okay, just give it a second. So take note of what happens when it restarts. It's going to be really interesting. Just take a look at the screen. What happens exactly when the system restarts. So now here is the thing. The system now is a domain controller. Now let's sign the same Control Alt Delete. Meanwhile, I can actually press Control Alt Delete on my keyboard. If you are using Mac, it's actually Function Command and Delete. And at this point, you can see now it's ktg/administrator. We are now logging into our domain. Let me enter my passwords. Right. So we have our new domain set up at this point. Now there is no computers added to this domain. This domain is on its own. It's not connected to our host operating system. We're going to be creating the network connection at this point. So let me move to part 2 because this is actually 2 parts. So here in part 2, we are going to be setting up the network. We are also going to configure the network, creating a user and joining the computers to the domain. So what I want us to do at this point is to go to manage. Let's create a user that is not an admin user, actually a user that have admin privileges, so that user can actually be used as the account to add computers to this domain. So I'm going to Tools, I'm going to Active Directory, Users and Computers. Please subscribe if you've not subscribed, and also let me know if you have any challenges, because when you subscribe, you don't miss any update from me. So at this point, please drop down at this point and go to Users, right click and click on New User. When you go to New User, enter the first name. The first name is Kindson, the last name is Munonye, and the logon is Kindson. Lowercase is always better to have the logon to be lowercase. Kindson. I'm going to go next and I'm going to use my password. Give me a second. All right, so give me 1 second. Let me just make sure of something. Okay, I think everything is fine. I'm going to uncheck this so that users must change the password at next logon. At next logon, I'm going to remove that so that I'm not going to force the users to change the password at logon. All right, so finish. So we have a user now created and we have our Active Directory domain set up. Now, for us to be able to join computers to this domain, there is a number of things we will do. For sure, we need a computer to join to this domain. So let's go back to this place and create a new machine as well. I hope this is going to be a bit faster. So I'm going to call it Windows 10. Let's call it Windows 10. Let's just call it Windows 10. Okay. So Windows 10 64-bit, I'm going to go next. Everything can be the same. I'll go next, just exactly the same way we did when we created the server. So I'm going to click on Start. When I click on Start, it's going to ask me for the ISO. So I'm going to select the ISO. Just click on Add and choose Windows 10 Enterprise. That is fine, and go Continue. Right, I think it should start. Okay, perfect. So we are doing exactly the same thing we did. We are trying to set up Windows 10 on this machine. So I'm going to allow it a bit of time to start. Okay. So we are going next. Maybe I'm going to just try to make some room. I'm going to go to View, set it to Scaled mode, go to Switch. So in that way, I should be able to resize it a little bit. So I'm going to install now. I'm going to use custom installation so that I install a fresh operating system just like a new machine. So let's see how it goes. So I'm going to accept the license agreement. I'm going next. I'm going to custom installation next. And yeah, so the installation starts up right now. While the installation is going on, so that we save some time, let's go back to do a bit of configuration or a bit of check on our server. So let me explain to you what the network configuration is all about. So the network configuration makes it that both the server machine and the Windows machine are on the same network. For them to be on the same network without you having to worry about creating a new network, you will need to configure it that they can join your home network. In my home network here, I have a Wi-Fi local network. I have my router right there, and then it has a DHCP IP addresses are assigned automatically. So I'm going to Windows Server, right click, and go to Settings. And when you go to Settings, go to Network, and go to Attach to, and choose Bridge Adapter. Bridge Adapter helps you to connect the machine's local network to the host local network. So basically, you are connecting a cable, a virtual cable from your virtual machine to the host OS. So I'm going to say OK. And you're also going to do the same thing for the Windows 10. So do it so that everything is on the same network. So I'm coming to here, going to Bridge Adapter. Let me just make sure everything is fine. Okay, I'm going to say OK. So it is fine at this point, and yes, so network configuration is not complete, but at least we are making some progress. Let's check the installation. So for you to see what is happening, you can just right click on this and say show. So it tells you what is happening here. So it's at 98% now. That is fine. So let's go to do something. So we can actually turn off the firewall from here so that we don't have any challenges. So let's just turn off the firewall. So in in real production environment, you may actually not turn off the firewall. You can actually set the firewall based on requirements of the network. But for now, I'm just going to turn off the firewall. I'm going to go to turn off firewall and go to here, turn off, and go to turn off as well, so that connections can come through easily without much configuration, because this is not a security tutorial. It's a server administration tutorial. All right, so so let's check our installation. So it continues. Okay, one thing I forgot, you need to also check the IP address of this computer. So I'm going to go to the IP address, because we are going to be using this IP address for the setting of the client. So IP config. So the IP address is 192.168.1.78. Okay, this is still getting ready. Okay, let's wait for a minute. All right, one thing I remember, we need to use IPv4, right? So I'm going to set both the server and the client to work with IPv4. So I'm on the server system. I'm going to this place. I'm going to open network connection, and I'm going to Ethernet. I'm going to change the adapter settings. Okay, so I actually go to, okay, so you can see that our Windows 10 is restarting. That is fine. So, but what we were trying to do here is to change the network setting to be able to use IP version 6. I think that's what I mentioned, but yeah, so let's just do it before we continue. So here, I think the system is kind of slow, but okay, so let's continue with Windows 10 setup. We are going to get back there. So I'm going to go click on yes at this point. Just click on yes. Skip. Okay, so this is what I was trying to get to. So I'm going to go to properties here, and you are going to turn off IP version 6. I don't know if you can see, but in the list here you can see IP version 6. So uncheck the checkbox against IP version 6 and say okay, and then close. Right, so that was what I was trying to do. On the status, I want to know the IP address. I checked it. It should be 192.168.1.78. We are going to be using it on the client system to be able to get the client system on the same network as the server. All right, so when it comes here, so you can just don't enter anything here, just go to join domain instead and just click on it. Join domain instead, that's what you are going to click. Okay, so it asks you for your name. I'm going to enter Kindson the Genius, or Kindson the Genius, and I'm going to click on next. Password, so I'm going to enter a password. Yeah, confirm. Security question. Wow, so sometimes I really don't like these. What's your first part's name? Let me just enter anything there because I don't need to tell you all this. Just enter anything. Go next. Enter what is your childhood nickname? KK. Alright, I'm going next. And question number 3 was this, and just alright. Because this is a test account, just for demo purposes, after now I'm going to decommission and maybe start creating a new tutorial. So as I used to say, please join me, subscribe to my channel, let me know what you think. Have my lessons helped you? Let me know in the comment box below. If there's something you want me to improve, let me know in the comment box below as well. So in this case, I say no, I don't need them to configure anything. Not now, because we got no time, so not now. The step-by-step instructions say that the next step is to turn off firewalls on the client system, but I think we have to wait for a few minutes or seconds. So we have the Windows 7 to be up now. Let's install the guest additions so that we'll be able to make it full screen. So for now, let me just reduce it and go to view and set it to scaled mode. In that way, I'll be able to have a place to start from. Okay, it's on scaled mode, but not full screen. So I'm going to go to devices, we've got optical drives, go to insert guest addition CD image. So once you do that, so sometimes it doesn't work, so simply come here, take it out, and come back to devices and insert it back. So at this point it should show up. Okay, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to run it. Run. Yes. Next. Install. So once it installs, we can now make the view or the screen to be full screen. So let's go to install. So it's also going to restart your system, and when it restarts, you'll be able to set it to full screen. Okay, so I'm going to click on finish to reboot. All right, so the system starts. So I'm going to go to input and send, of course, okay, here, Kindson the Genius. Now, Kindson the Genius, my password is, all right. So we are now going to set it to view full screen, I think. Let's go back here, right click and show. Okay. Let's wait for a second and see. Okay, so it gets into full screen, and I'm going to right click and go to display settings, and I would like to set it to 200. That is, the scale and layout of 225 is okay. So as I mentioned, you will need to turn off the firewall so that we don't have any problems at all. So I'm going to go to firewalls at this point, and let's turn off the firewall so that the connection becomes easy. All right, so I'm going to go to properties here. Just go here, turn off, sorry, go click on off, private profile off, apply, public profile off as well. Again, this is something you don't do in production, but for now, this is demo, so I'm doing it this point. All right, another network setting you want to change is to be able to allow the system for remote connections to be able to come into the system. So I'm going to close up this, and I'm going to go to this computer. I'm going to right click and go to properties. So in properties now, I'm going to change settings from here. I'm going to go to remotes and say allow remote connections and apply. I'm going to change this computer name to be Windows 10. So let's go to computer name and change it from here. I think from here, the computer name is going to be Windows 10. All right. So for now, I'm just changing the name. I'm not joining to domain. I'm just changing the name. It's going to prompt me to restart. So I'm going to also restart as well. After restarting, we are now going to join this system to the domain. So let me just check that I'm not missing any step. Okay, yeah. After the system restarts now, we are going to set it to be able to communicate with the domain. In terms of network connection to the domain. So we are going to set the preferred DNS server address to be the address of the domain. So basically, if I go here, there is the domain computer, and the IP address is 192.168.1.78, and there is a DNS server that provides DNS for the client. So let's go, these are Windows 10, clear. I'm going to go to keyboard, Control Alt Delete. I'm going to enter my password and login. So we are going to go to the network settings, and then we are going to change the network configuration to be able to connect to the server or to the domain. All right, so the first thing I would like to do is let's go to the network and let's remove IP version 6. Let's uncheck IP version 6. So I'm going to go to Ethernet. If I go to Ethernet, I'm going to change adapter options. And I'm going to right click on this and right click and go to properties. So in properties now, first uncheck IP version 6, that's fine, and go to version 4, go to properties. Now here is where you are going to say use the following DNS server address. So going to be 192.168.1.78. Let's just make sure that 1.78. And for the alternate DNS server, just enter anything, or anything is okay, that is fine, and say okay and say close. So to just check that the communication goes through, I'm going to try to ping the server using ping. So I'm going to ping 192.168.1.78, ping 192.168.1.78, and you can see that reply is coming. So it's communicating with the domain. All right, so finally, let's join this computer to the domain. There is a fun part. So I'm going to this computer properties. I'm going to right click. Of course, there are a number of ways to do that, but one easy way is to go to this PC and say properties and go to change settings. Go to change settings and go to change in this place. So you are going to select domain and go to and enter the name of the domain, ktg.local, and say okay. So it's going to ask of the username and password of an account that have access to the domain. So I'm going to enter it. Kindson. So if everything goes fine, it's going to welcome us to this domain. So you can see it tells us welcome to the KTG domain. So everything should be fine at this point. I'm going to say okay. And it's going to actually restart. So I'm going to close and I'm going to restart now. All right, so at this point the system restarts and it's joined to the domain. I'm going to go to input keyboard and go to Control-Alt-Delete here. And you can see if I go to other users here, it can now say sign into KTG domain, but it's fine. Let's use the same username we used before. So now we have the system joined to the domain. To be able to verify, let's go to the domain and check the domain computers and see that this Windows 10 is there. So here is our domain. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to kind of close this as well. Close this network window. So let me go to tools. I'm going to tools and go to Active Directory users and computers. And we are going to expand the KTG, go to computers, and you can see that we have Windows 10 computer joined to the domain. And that is really amazing. If you have come up to this point, congrats and thumbs up to you. You've done so well. I'm very proud of you. If you have some challenges, for sure we all have challenges from time to time, please let me know in the comment box below. If what I'm doing is being informative for you in some way, please subscribe to my channel and also leave me a comment trying to motivate me to do more, because this is what I do in my leisure time, because I work as a researcher, as you know. And finally, we also added a user right here, this user right here. So there are other things we can actually do with a domain, but for now I would like to stop here. Remember, I'm Kindson the Genius, and just to remind you this is a website where you can always get everything you want. That's my website I like to go to. So let me go to my website. So this is Google. So to get to my website, as I normally say, simply go to Google and type Kindson the Genius. It takes you to my website, and you can always get everything you want from my website. You simply need to search. If you need any of my books, please leave me a comment or just buy it, because the books are actually not free. But if some problem you have, please let me know. But I would like to see you letting me know that you've benefited from my my courses. These are courses I created right here. Some of them are actually still being modified for now. So this is what we worked on, and I'd like to thank you for being there. I'd like to thank you for viewing. I'm Kindson the Genius, as I said before, and please let's meet in the next lesson. And if there's any other topic you want me to discuss, please mention it in the comment box below, and we'll see you in the next part. All the best to you.